In three, two, one. What's up? What's going on? This is Nessa Rutazamba with Meet Dope. Meet Dope is continuously here to bring you all of the dope culture and people that are on Web3 so you guys can see all of this magic that's been cooked up. And hopefully it inspires you all to take your own path down your Web3 journey. So today I have the founder of 40 Acres DAO. Let me introduce to you Mr. Catalyst. He is pioneering Web3 using blockchain as a way to fund and promote social change. He's using DAOs and quadratic funding, and I know these are all big words. We're going to dive into it. We will go over it, but he's using these mechanisms to raise money for his philanthropic efforts and missions to underserved neighborhoods throughout America in the South and metropolitan areas. So let me just give you your applause because we don't have like a live audience. So
Thank you. Thank you.
welcome, welcome. All right. So thank you for being here today. Appreciate you for taking this time. And let me just get started by asking you to tell us how you got started in Web3. Well, I guess maybe we should let me first say what Web, because a lot of people, these are still big words that we use a lot in this Web3 space, and everyone is not really familiar with it. So I'll just quickly, or unless you want to, actually, I'll let you do it. I'll just tell us what Web3 is, and then tell us how you got into this journey of Web3.
For sure. So Web3 is the next iteration of technology that's comprised of a few core components. Most notably, whenever people think of Web3, they immediately associate it with blockchain technology. That's just one of the various components that typically deals with data and data verification. A few of the other ones that you might be more familiar with are AI, machine learning, augmented and virtual reality, and then quantum computing and 5G. So all of these things come together to build what's known as the Web3 infrastructure stack. And these are tools to be used to build the next future of the internet.
Nice. Very good summary. So now let us know, like, how did you get into the Web3 space?
For sure. So in high school, I went to a career-focused high school. So I chose the information technology pathway because I got in trouble in middle school and it was more so of a punishment. And my mother, single black mother, uh, looked at it as, you always playing video games. Why don't you go learn how to build them? So I dove down the rabbit hole of computer science, programming, and software engineering. And in high school, we were very much so into things that we shouldn't have been. So I was spending time on the dark web. For those of y'all that don't know, that was the main mode of transaction. So I was buying Bitcoin in high school.
Wow.
And then as it gained broader adoption, I started looking into other coins like Ethereum, Litecoin, and even some black ones at the time, such as Guapcoin.
So what year was that when you bought your first Bitcoin or
I first bought Bitcoin in 2016, and then 2017 was when I started buying Ethereum and other what people call altcoins.
so you're an OG. You definitely
Uh,
the OG
yeah,
at this point. Nice. Okay. So tell us about what you have cooking up. What are you doing? Like, let us
for
know.
sure. So, um, since I've matured from like my high school days, I really started to build a career in corporate finance and the nonprofit sector. So, I started my own nonprofit called the Community Growth Project. And while I was working at a private equity firm, I really started to look at the infrastructure behind the blockchain technology deeper than just investment speculation. And what that turned into was me experimenting with the broader crypto stack as opposed to just picking tokens and hoping that they 100x. So I created my first set of NFTs, and I really got hip to digital organizing to leverage as a tool to complement what I was doing with other organizations that I was a part of, such as the NAACP, my nonprofit, and others in my local area. really focusing on this sector called digital transformation that helps legacy businesses, more brick and mortar facing entities transition into the new world of technology. And I had even flirted with the idea of turning my nonprofit into a DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. I wanted to do that for a few reasons, but the most imperative one to me was to empower the individual volunteers to feel like they had the same amount of stake as somebody like me who co-founded the organization did. And I felt like through digital organizing and coordination with blockchain as the tool that underpins it all, we would be able to do just that. So I like to tell people my organization, 40 Acres, was born out of a protest. I took a trip from Dallas to Austin, and I was protesting the wrongful imprisonment of Marvin Guy. And I was at the governor's mansion when my friend pulled me to the side and said, I want you to meet somebody who ended up being my co-founder. And we literally only connected because we were two young Black men who understood Web3 beyond the tokens. So we toasted up at True Food Kitchen, which is a staple restaurant. Like we always go there once a year, same day that we were founded, and really like celebrate one another in our progress. But there was when we set out the initial vision of education, engagement, and empowerment as our core tenets, and 40 acres as our name, because we felt like this blockchain and Web3 technology was, in a sense, our digital means to production, the same way that General Order 15 meant to serve as land and that one mule being our physical forms of means to production. So that's how we started. We started off a group chat of literally just three people masterminding. We did what we call a 90-day blitz, where every day we at least dedicated 1 hour towards building our collective consciousness, because we felt like what our community educates itself on, it becomes.
Yeah.
And that's how we were able to shift culture, because we saw, is most notably laced through Kendrick's latest, The Heart Part 5, culture has a war on its people. We've kind of descended into chaos as a collective, and being able to uplift one another through means of education, engagement, and empowerment is how we could save the trajectory and do a course correction for our people.
Right.
So from there, we recruited. Now we're at over 500 members across the globe. Started off as some boys from Texas. We've broken down into 5 separate guilds, one with a different focus on each industry, ranging from art curation to business and strategy, to social impact. And I currently steward 2 of those guilds, the one focusing on business strategy and social impact. And we've been able to release, I believe, 5 collective impact projects over the course of the year, ranging from NFT drops to IRL activations
Nice.
to onboarding sessions. And most recently, and most notably in my part, because it's a part of the guilds that I lead, our collective social impact project. So we have one focusing on the digital divide as it relates to the Southern Crescent. They're called literacy hubs. The LIT stands for Learning with Innovative Technology. We have a bail fund called the Decentralized Freedom Fund that we're using to rescue the 60% of people in American carceral state that are sitting in prison for pretrial detention simply for the fact that they can't afford bail. We just recently started the WAGMI Water Project. WAGMI is a common crypto adage that's often used to compel and gather community in a sort of rallying cry. And it stands for we're all gonna make it. But as we see these legacy systems still sabotage the trust and faith that the people put into them, uh, it's become more evident day by day that we're not all going to make it if we don't band together to empower one another. So we're going to be providing direct aid and efforts to healing the things that Jackson, Mississippi is having to face currently. But we're also taking it a step further to use that project to fund research and development to make sure that countless Black communities that have been divested get that critical infrastructure they need using Web3 technology. Um, and yeah, those are our 3 main projects.
Nice. Could we back up just a little bit? And can you explain in more detail what DAO is?
For
Because
sure.
it goes over the head of a lot of people. This is a new concept.
So a DAO is essentially a digital cooperative of sorts, where there's fluid and frictionless governance, which means that you don't necessarily have to go to the CEO to get your end of the day answer. You go to the people at large. And we feel like this is a way where we could build democratic dual power, where it not only shows people that they have the opportunity to coordinate amongst each other, but it shows people the power that comes with coordinating amongst each other. So this is done through a plethora of ways, most notably through token weighted governance. So we are in the process of launching our initial token called the Acre Coin.
Can you
But
explain that token weighted? What that even means?
yeah, so to get into that, token weight is essentially self-explanatory, right? Like if I have 100 tokens and you have 10 tokens and we put up a vote, if I put all my tokens to stake towards a certain position, we overwhelmingly would lean towards whatever decision gathers the most tokens. And we feel like this is just a replica of what we faced in the modern day. So to go against this, we've been exploring it, experimenting with new consensus mechanisms that empower the people at the core and say, hey, you can hold 1 million of these tokens and I could have one. But as long as at the end of the day, you're passionate about this issue, you're a human that we could prove to our civil resistance, your vote matters just as much as the next one. And that's kind of what leads to the ethos of quadratic funding, which I know we'll get into later. But there's a few different consensus models that DAOs operate off of. Token weight is just one of them. And we found that to be a flawed method of governance and decision making because, once again, it just incentivizes those that might be the few that have more of the fungible, which is denominated by whatever the community at whole values. Or we could take a more concerted and intentional approach to saying, how are we going to quantify who gets to determine what? And that's what DAOs enable for communities. And that's why it is in the same sense that Web3 is the next iteration of technology, decentralized autonomous organizations are the next iteration of coordination.
It is, and I hope everyone who's listening is following and even though you might not know all of the buzzwords now, please take notes, write them down, because these are very powerful tools that you can utilize throughout your community to make some serious change. So let's dive in a little bit more of the details on how you launched the DAO, because it took a lot of steps. It takes a lot of foresight and planning into whatever you're going to write out to do to make it do. And I'm trying to put it in simple, very, very simple words, but because it gets confusing if you have never really been in this space. So just let us know, please, like what steps, who did you have to bring on as an advisor? Did you have to write out, hire someone to write smart contracts for the planning? Let us know just a little bit in details on what steps you took.
For sure. So we have had a true coordinated effort. And that's why I like to hit on that point so much because none of this would be possible on the shoulders of two sub 25-year-old Black men that are already, at risk from everyday factors. But beyond that, critically under-resourced, just like a bunch of people in our community are. So what we did is we leaned on our community for their input and very much so asked them, hey, do you like this? Do you not like this? Do you want to contribute any ideas? Why would you want to contribute that idea? How do you think that helps and serves us? So one thing that definitely helped us is the 7 generations principle that is most notably used in indigenous cultures, where we wouldn't adopt any idea that would stand as kind of the structure of our DAO if we knew that for the next 7 iterations and seasons of our DAO, it wouldn't bring back a benefit each and every time. And what this did is it forced each and every one of us that considered ourselves contributors, members, advisors, advocates, whatever, to really put the best interests of the broader community at heart, as opposed to their separate individual interests, which we know could be skewed which way depending on the day and what do they say, what side of the bed we wake up on. So when it comes to scaling, yes, we did implement smart contracts. We developed an open Zeppelin contract for governance. So essentially, what that does is it mints a fungible token for us, and it allows people to vote using that token. But like I was just saying earlier, we've been able to experiment and see that that form of governance isn't as effective as other ones that are right at our disposal or able to be built. So that's one thing that we definitely had to keep in mind when it came to building out our DAO, right? Is ensuring that it was malleable enough and composable enough for us to experiment with while we're building. They said fail fast, success even faster. And that's exactly what we're planning for our community because we need to go through that growing pains, especially since we're in such a nascent industry. Blockchain has been on the broader lens of American culture for, I'd say, 5 years. If you're knee deep in the computer science space, maybe 7 or 8. But when it comes to reaching mass adoption, there's still communities out here that haven't even fully onboarded into Web 2, let alone Web 3. So when it comes to making this palpable for them, we really have to open up a environment. And what we like to say is create an oasis that inhibits collaboration for people to be able to come together and throw ideas on the wall, see what sticks, look at the wall and see what's falling off and just scrape it off and keep it going. So that's what it looked like when it came to building our DAO out.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I know it's a huge collaborative effort. And nothing is it takes a village, and that's something that we all need to remember as we are building out anything. You trying to do it on your own, I've been there, like trying to do things on my own, and you move slowly. But I give the example of bread. If you ever take rolls, yeast rolls, raw yeast rolls, and you put one, I did it before. I put one in a pan and then I put a bunch cluttered together and tried to let them rise. That one rose this high. The section that was together rose 4 times higher. So it's critical to reach out and just bring people, empower people around you, figure out who has what skills and move together because you'll move way quicker, be an easier process. Okay. So moving along. All right. So I know you had a lot of, as you said, fail fast. That is a really good lean strategy approach. But what were some other lessons learned or failures or challenges along that process of building this DAO that you would like to share?
Um, I'd say the biggest challenge, especially as a young Black man, is the challenge of limited perspective. When it comes to catering to a community of over 500 unique individuals that have their own intentions, that have their own set of morals and standards, and being not just willing, but able to cater to those unique perspectives um, in a way that promotes collaboration still. It's a very big lesson on, hey, how can I step outside of my shell of experience and be compassionate, be engaging, and being thoughtful for how somebody might be receptive of our strategy and how we could include them in our strategy as well. So we've definitely had to learn more about intersectionality as a practice, decolonization as a practice, which is broader than just land.
Yeah.
You could decolonize any and everything, such as time, money, which is what we're doing with Web3, and really your whole existence. So we've had advisors come in, which is why I would like to very much so shout them out and really help us define our engaged pedagogy of how could you learn, teach, and do all at the same time. So that's probably been a huge lesson that I know I personally appreciate.
That was going to be my next question. Who who are your advisors? Who's taught you? Who has helped you? Who's been a part of this mission?
So we've garnered a wide array of trust and advisory services throughout the curation and creation of our community. Most notably, I would like to shout out the Token Engineering Commons. Um, they have a trusted seed program where you essentially go through an audit, an individual audit of all of your crypto transactions ever. And if you come out to be trustworthy, you get to join the select group of people and undergo this process that really reshapes how you look at the world using Eleanor Ostrom's philosophy of the commons and how to govern and make decisions as a collective. So they brought that energy into the 40 acres community and told us taught us everything that we think now about decolonization at scale, um, trauma-informed care and healing, and the emphasis and importance of an engaged and educated community. So out of that, we spun out ideas such as the 40 Acres Book Club that helped pave the way in the direction for the Literacy Hubs initiative because we realized if we're coming together to study some of the most prominent, newest, and most advanced technology, how can we help those that don't even look at technology on a day-to-day basis, have to go back to houses without Wi-Fi and internet connection and expect them to open up a MetaMask. So I would definitely say Token Engineering Commons and most notably Durgadas, who has been by our side since really August of 2021 when we first started.
Can you
Probably
repeat
one
that?
of
I didn't hear it. Who?
his name is Durgadas. So
Okay.
uh it's the combination of two Hindu gods' names. And I can't like give you what their names mean, but um, he's definitely kind of led as a spiritual advisor and a grounding stone for us to bounce ideas off of and ask questions at the end of the day, to lead a sort of course correction and say, hey, are you still in the process of becoming a DAO? Because that sounds really like, what a traditional business would do, not prioritizing the needs of the many or the few. So definitely would like to give them their flowers.
Nice. Okay. So let's move along to actual funding strategy. So you mentioned a really big word, even though we know what the word quadratic means, but quadratic funding. Um, how are you utilizing it? What is it, and how is it being used for your 40 acres down?
So quadratic funding is essentially a democratic approach to democratizing access to capital. What it does is it prioritizes individual unique contributions as opposed to one-off, one-time large donors. And coming from the philanthropic sector, I saw this firsthand where organizations that are doing the work on the ground and building collective power have to tap dance for funding from oftentimes colonial minded foundations that are led by corporations that don't prioritize the people. So what really allured us about quadratic funding is the fact that one person donating $1 goes just as far, if not further, than one person donating 100. Um, and then if you compound that and say 10 people donating $1 as opposed to one person donating $10, the magnitude of the return just exponentiates. So that's where we came across Gitcoin, which is the facilitator of quadratic funding on blockchain. They're pretty much the premier. Wouldn't go out of my way to say that they're the only ones, but they're the most notable since Gitcoin has spun out of GitHub, which is essentially a social networking application for developers, which was bought out by Microsoft in 2015, 19, one of the two. But you see, one comes from they're coming from a corporate background, and then doing this thing called progressive decentralization. So what they're doing is um, letting people in a permissionless way launch grants and leverage this quadratic funding out of a pool of matched funds. So what happens is the way that the formula works is that the amount of funds that you get matched gets squared by the amount of unique contributors you have, not the sheer dollar amount. So our current round, we have 62 contributors. We have out of those 62 contributors, they have contributed a little over $500. But in terms of quadratic matching funds, we're getting over $5,500 back from that out of the match pool of around $3 million. So, what this does is it pushes power outwards. And we think that's especially powerful and in line with what we're looking to do through 40 acres because why would we ask for funding and share in the upwards, trajectory of our endeavors with our oppressors? It just doesn't make sense. So we would much rather go to our people, ask to hold the dollar, and show them firsthand what it multiplies into. So currently, for every $1 we get matched over $100. Every $100 we get matched over $800. So these are ways that we're able to lean on our community for funding, as opposed to just once again tap dancing for the same funds to do the same work that shouldn't be our work to do, but is desperate that it gets done because the clock is ticking and the time is running out.
Right. So how are you building or finding your community? Like, what are you doing to reach everyone? Because it's a
So
big onboard. Go ahead.
we do a mix of IRL and URL functions. So the IRL stands for in real life. URL is just kind of a typical adage to like that's what you use to search for websites. That's what's at the top of the search bar. So we do both online and in-person activations. We have made it a point to go and diversify these crypto conferences that are traditionally all male and traditionally all white. My co-founder today is probably flying in from Paris, from the latest NearCon, which just happened in Lisbon, Portugal, where we took, I think it was 25 Black founders and developers in a cohort called the Black Web3 Scholars Program, led by the Black Web3 organization that we're partnered with to
Nice.
be specifically intentional about getting Black folks abroad to these crypto conferences at in Portugal, in Spain, in Paris, and even ones right here in our homes, such as ETH Denver and NFT NYC and NFT LA. But alongside that, while we're finding mission aligned people at the conferences, we're also making an intention to do the work by getting into the community that these conferences are at. So during NFT NYC, I was able to onboard about 20 justice involved youth at the Exodus Community Center, which is a nonprofit that services people that have been justice involved and are looking for rehabilitative services. So we're taking a dual or even tri-pronged approach to getting involved and engaged with the people that need the services the most, as well as bolstering our technical capacity by connecting with these in-demand developers. And then also we do a slew of daily events, all online, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, popular social media platforms, or in our own Discord server. We're doing everything ranging from study nights to guild meetings to community calls and even yoga and meditation services to focus on mental health and wellness. So we take just about every approach that there is to take outside of paying for ads. That's the type of work that we've been doing when it comes to onboarding our people and making sure that we're all going to make it.
Nice. That's a lot. That is a lot. It's a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you.
It's a lot. So I'm glad to see you guys doing this, and it's exciting. It really is exciting. So congratulations again. I just like
Thank you.
congratulating people their flowers so they can hear and know that they're appreciated. But I want to dive in some more on your approach because there are a lot of even though this Web3 space, it seems like it's a wag me and we're all going to make it. We won't unless we learn from a lot of the issues that are going on. And customer data, like being able to retarget your customers, you are taking a different approach, kind of combining Web2 and Web3. But what are you using? Are there any tools now that are allowing people to be able to, because it is so much is encrypted, what are you using to kind of keep grasp on your customer data?
So the main thing that we use right now is the blockchain and a consortium of Web2 techniques. So we do have a link tree, we do get analytics, we do have a website, but the blockchain tells all. And while the data is encrypted, um, the endpoints and the public addresses are not, because it's public and permissionless. So what that means is we issue NFTs based on certain activations. Those NFTs come from a trusted wallet, and people that interact with those NFTs, whether they're claiming a free POAP, they're minting the NFT of some of our art collections, or they're getting a credential by completing one of our courses. We get to track that data and we put it all in a repository of people that we've interacted with on the blockchain. And we have a separate one of people that we interacted with in person. And we have another one of people that we've interacted through traditional Web2 means. So that's how we're able to bring everything together to coordinate it, do our outreach, and have collective action.
Nice. So we skipped over, I did forget, we forgot to tell everyone that we're going to have links posted on the YouTube and also on the podcast so that we can all contribute to the grants that are running right now. I know one, the Gitcoin one you mentioned is ending. I think you said September. You didn't say, but
Yeah,
it's
next
September
next Tuesday.
22nd. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about the steps that they would need to take to actually sign up and contribute to.
So, since we use Web3 native technology, that means that you're gonna have to have a crypto wallet first and foremost. Um, After that, like I said, Gitcoin is spun out of GitHub. So in order to access the website and check out, you'll need a GitHub account. And then from there, there's a newly released platform. I very briefly spoke towards it earlier, but it's called civil resistance. A civil attack is a coordinated network attack where different conspirators come together to try and overpower a network by gaining 51% control. They do this through coordination of bots, AI, and other technologies that could be programmed to have malicious intent. So what Gitcoin's new uh, product called the Gitcoin Passport does is it verifies your proof of humanity and it prevents civil attacks by not letting the same person put 100 DAI in and break it into 100 different wallets and then donate $1 each to one grant, which would very much so skew the actual amount of support that the project is garnering. So what you could do is, um, and to back up just for a brief second, by completing a passport, you get a trust bonus. So if you were to get a GitHub, get your crypto wallet, and then go to our grant, your contribution would only be matched by 50%, which is still 50% more than what it would have been. But if you take the time to verify your identity by completing 3 different passport stamps, you get a NFT for each one that you do. You would then be able to get 150% of your contribution matched. So this drastically impacts the contribution, and it helps us get to that $1 uh, to $100 plus match. So you want to do create GitHub, complete passport, and then connect your wallet and any ERC20 token. So any token on the Ethereum blockchain that is of any type of repute, you're able to donate in that denomination. So we've received donations of Ether, we've received donations of wrapped Ether, we've received donations of DAI and USDC, which are stable coins. And then we've even received some Polygon, which is a side chain of Ethereum that has its own native token. So by donating $1, your current match rate right now is $106. So that $1 donation would be like you're giving us $107. And to dig just a bit into the specifics of the program, for every $100 that we get, we're able to afford a family a year's worth of internet connectivity. So that's just how far $1 is truly going in our Dollar in a Dream campaign.
Can you talk about that? Because I know you've done a lot of efforts with actually providing families Wi-Fi. Can you tell us some of the past things you've done throughout?
Yeah, so we've done, and this is mainly through my experience with nonprofits that I've worked with, which kind of fueled the passion for me to create a guild specifically focused on replicating what a nonprofit looks like on chain. But through a various assortment of grants, crowdfunding, and just government aid, we've been able to coordinate resources to provide families relief, whether it's related to homeless aid or whether it's related towards the digital divide. What we're doing right now when it comes to connecting families is we're partnering with the Affordable Connectivity Program through a stipend that's offered to low income families. And we're subsidizing the additional cost through quadratic funding and blockchain technology. And we're going through these communities that are at the worst end of the digital divide based on census data and other demographic data of the geography. And we're providing them with a year's worth of Wi-Fi connection. So that's how we're able to do what we've been doing. Uh, and we're going to keep leveraging what's called dual power. It was first coined by Vladimir Lenin, but essentially what we're doing is we're changing the collective conscious of the community, which is why we have such a deep focus on education. But we're also creating new systems, new institutions, if you will, that are built on a backbone of decentralized decision making and technology to be able to completely replace the old corrupt systems of the past.
Y'all hear that? They are doing big, big, big things. So I'm gonna run back through a couple of the step are the key points of the steps so you guys can all go and contribute. First thing, like you said, make sure you have to have a crypto wallet. I know it's hard adopting for some. I don't use or recommend you to stay here, but you can start with Coinbase as an easy point of entry, but don't stay
Hmm.
there. You want to move. We'll get into that another time. But so
Yeah.
step one, crypto wallet. Step two, you just need to register for a GitHub account. It's going to look scary. It's going to look like this developer's lane when you go in there, but only thing you need to do is register. It's a free account. You don't have to do anything dev wise once you
Yeah, you don't have to like start coding JavaScript or anything unless you want to.
unless you want.
And yeah,
So then step three, you're going to go to gitcoin.co. I'm also going to put a link in here from Meg. She has a beautiful blog where she wrote this out clearly and concisely.
yep.
She's a great educator in the space. So yeah, three, get your Gitcoin account. And he mentioned once you do that, there is the passport. There's a section, you might have to go all the way down to the bottom, click on
Oh no,
passport.
they put it right at the top.
It's at the top. I don't know where I was looking when I had to click on the bottom for something, but um, right at the top, click passport and just verify at least three different forms of verification, whether it's your Facebook or Twitter. They just want to make sure you're not a bot and you're a real person. And this will, as he mentioned, it will amplify the funding from 50% to, he said, 150%. So he will be able to do more impact and more good in the community. So I know this may seem like a lot of steps, but if you are listening and you truly do care about building and doing more in the communities around you, then put that little bit of action is worth it because it's not really that hard. So we'll be waiting for you to start clicking. Hopefully y'all doing it now. All right, so we're gonna wind it down, but I want to make sure that I did not skip over. So I'm looking over my questions real quick, making sure I'm not missing any key things. Was there anything else that you wanted to say or point out?
So two things. Our motto is the only way forward is together. We derived that from the just desperate need that us as a community has to develop this collective conscious and really lift ourselves out of our current state. It is slated by economists, I believe, at the Federal Reserve that Black wealth as a collective is projected to be at zero in the next 30 years. So if we don't course correct soon, there will literally be nothing left for us to nothing more for us to do. We're already arrested at 3 times as likely as any other demographic. We're fighting through our decentralized bail fund to release people that look like us because we overwhelmingly represent this prison industrial complex. And the second thing that I would like to say is that regenerative finance does not only lie in quadratic funding. There are ways for you to make money from investing in things for good, contrary to what venture capitalists, private equity firms, and the traditional legacy systems of financial services have you believe. None of this is financial advice, but there are platforms and protocols that are being built on blockchain technology that have the sole purpose of amplifying impact for grassroots organizations and initiatives while providing you with liquidity, whether it be in the form of dividends or just a net positive investment in your dollar by dollar sum that you put into these projects. So we're taking approach on all of those things. And one thing that we prioritize at 40 acres is leveraging those that are built by people that look like us, because culture-centered design is one of the most important things as it relates to software engineering. I'm not sure if you guys have seen or heard of the AI rapper FN Mecca that was developed by a white man and an Asian man that now is saying the N-word and got a record deal. So it's just an attack on our people and an attack on our culture that we must defend. Asada Shakur said it best that it is our duty to fight for one another, and it is our duty to win. And we must love and support one another, for we have nothing to lose but our chains. And that's what we believe at 40 acres, and that's what we're building towards.
We're gonna have to have you back on because you have a lot, and I know we didn't get through half of any of what you're working on, but I know you have a lot of gems and things to share. So we're definitely gonna have you back on. And
Oh no, I've enjoyed my time thoroughly, and I look forward to connecting with other Black people that are building intentionally in the space.
thank you, thank you. And we're gonna close it out. I don't have any music. I guess I should have pre-prepared. Oh, I know what I'll do. By the time I play it back, there will be music. So
There we go.
but thank you all for listening, and thank you so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. This is a lot of gems. People, please take action, listen to what he's saying, what he's doing, use it as a template to get you started, and make sure you donate and support what he's working on.
Thank you so much.
All right, and we're gonna close it out. That's the music playing. You hear it?
Yeah, no, I definitely hear.
All right, support and follow. Y'all listen to the tunes, support, follow, subscribe, like, subscribe. Make sure you also follow 40 Acres DAO. And support. I can't stress that enough. So we're out.
Thank you.